In modern life, we often find ourselves caught in a never-ending race to become a better version of ourselves. This could mean the pursuit of success, money, career advancement, or even self-improvement in terms of mental and physical well-being. For many people, this journey becomes the ultimate goal of life. We are all obsessed with the success stories of others, and we begin to believe that we can only be happy once we have achieved all that society deems desirable. However, as Lao Tzu pointed out, those who stand on tiptoes cannot stand firm. Those who rush ahead do not go far. This implies that when we exert ourselves too much to achieve something, we often face failure. Excessive effort, like standing on tiptoes, causes us to lose the balance necessary to move forward. When we lose balance, we can no longer maintain stability in life. In contemporary culture, people are constantly plunging into daily activities and work, with a strong belief that relentless effort will bring happiness and success. However, reality shows that rushing into action, racing toward fame and success, often leads to exhaustion and stress. Many people, after a period of trying, instead of feeling satisfied, fall into dissatisfaction and disappointment. This happens because they have gone against the natural flow of life. The Taoists, from ancient times, recognized that efforts to change what nature has predetermined only make things worse. They observed that people tend to act in ways that are counterproductive, and when we intervene too much in nature, we disrupt the balance that the universe has set. Let's reflect on this. Why do we always feel the need to change the world? Are all the rules, morals, and values created by humans not enough to make life better? For the Taoist sages, the answer is that we should discard all these artificial ideas. Why? Because when humans try to impose their man-made concepts on the natural world, they move away from the natural flow of the universe. Like swimming against the current, attempting to change nature not only exhausts us but also leads us nowhere. This does not mean that we should do nothing. Instead, Taoism teaches us to act naturally, without force. This is the essence of the concept of Wu Wei, acting without effort, allowing the natural flow of life to guide us. Wu Wei does not mean passivity, but rather harmony between action and nature, a way of navigating through life gently, without fighting or resisting the world. Humans have long had the desire to change the world around them to suit their own ways. We create technologies, political systems, laws, and moral codes to control and regulate the natural world. We believe that these things will bring order and progress, but in reality, they complicate matters further and create more conflict. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "The 5 colors blind the eye, the 5 tones deafen the ear, the 5 flavors dull the taste." This means that when we focus too much on the concepts and classifications that humans create, we limit our ability to truly understand and perceive the world. Instead of experiencing life in a natural and holistic way, we make everything more complicated and tangled by imposing boundaries and restrictions. To clarify this, think about how we try to categorize everything around us. We divide life into categories of good and bad, right and wrong, beautiful and ugly. But by doing so, we overlook the diversity and richness that life offers. This classification and judgment cause us to lose our ability to perceive and live in accordance with the true essence of the universe. In the book Xuanzi, there is a story about Yan Hui, the beloved disciple of Confucius. When Yan Hui heard that the state of Wei was being ruled by an incompetent king, he asked Confucius for permission to go to Wei and use his knowledge to help the country. However, Confucius warned Yan Hui that his actions would not bring the desired results. The reason was that people, in general, do not like outsiders coming in and telling them what is right, especially when it comes from a position of moral superiority. Confucius said, "If you do not understand people's hearts, and yet you present yourself before a tyrant and force him to listen to lectures on kindness and righteousness. You are merely using the faults of others to showcase your own excellence. This implies that when we impose our ideas on others without truly understanding them, we only create more conflict and tension. Our strong interventions into the natural flow of the world not only make things worse but also lead to unforeseen consequences. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu warned, "Do you want to rule the world and control it? I don't think it can be done. The world is a sacred vessel and cannot be controlled. You will only make it worse if you try." This shows that although humans always have the ambition to control and manipulate everything, the nature of the universe is uncontrollable. Any intervention can cause imbalance and make things more chaotic. Human efforts, no matter how well-intentioned, often lead to unintended consequences. The concept of Wu Wei in Taoism is often misunderstood as doing nothing or as laziness and passivity. However, when understood correctly, Wu Wei is a way of acting naturally, without force. It is when our actions do not oppose the flow of nature but instead harmonize with it, without resistance or control. A simple illustration of Wu Wei is the image of water. Water does not try to overcome obstacles, it flows around and through cracks. Even if blocked, water finds a way through, gently and without force. This flexibility and non-resistance make water a perfect symbol for Wu Wei. According to Taoism, we should apply this principle to our daily lives. When we stop forcing things, everything will naturally unfold in the way it is meant to. This does not mean that we should not act, but that we should act naturally, without exhaustion, without excessive effort. For example, in work, many people spend hours trying to solve a problem, but the more they try, the more stuck and stressed they become. When they let go and stop forcing the solution, the answer naturally appears. This is an expression of Wu Wei. We simply need to act at the right moment, without forcing things, and let everything unfold in its natural way. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu also pointed out that the Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. This serves as a reminder that although Wu Wei means effortless action, it does not imply doing nothing. Instead, when we act without trying to control, the desired results will naturally come. The universe has its own laws, and our interference only disrupts those laws. A real-life example of Wu Wei can be seen in art or sports. When a dancer reaches the pinnacle of their art, they no longer think about each individual move. Instead, they become one with the dance, and every movement happens naturally, without effort. This is Wu Wei in action, action without thought, without control. The same thing happens in sports. When a top athlete competes, they no longer think about each step or strategy. They simply go with the flow and allow their body to act in the most natural way. In this state, they are not trying or resisting, instead, they blend into the flow of the game. This makes their actions more precise and effortless. In modern times, one of the most common goals for people is to achieve happiness. From self-help books to personal development courses, everyone is looking for ways to become happier. But what many people do not realize is that the very pursuit of happiness is the reason why they never truly attain it. We often believe that happiness lies ahead, at the end of the road after we have achieved a certain goal. When I make more money, I will be happy. When I have the perfect relationship, I will be happy. When I succeed in my career, I will be happy. But this rarely becomes a reality. Instead, when we achieve what we want, we find ourselves immediately moving on to the next goal. Happiness, in this way, becomes an unreachable destination. Lao Tzu wrote, "When people pursue a certain goal, they find themselves further away from it." This is true when it comes to the pursuit of happiness. When we try too hard to achieve happiness, we lose the joy of the journey itself. Trying to attain a specific mental state is like trying to grasp water in your hands. The tighter you hold, the more the water slips away. Similarly, when trying to find happiness, we feel further and further away from it. The Taoists advise us to let go of the idea of having to achieve happiness. Happiness is not something we can grasp or control. Instead, happiness comes naturally when we live in harmony with the flow of life. It is a natural state that does not require pursuit or search. A testament to this can be seen in the lives of people in rural areas or traditional cultures. They live simply, without striving to accumulate wealth or chase fame, yet they possess an inner peace that many people in modern society cannot attain, even though they may be wealthier and more successful. This does not mean that we should abandon all ambition or personal goals. What is important is that we learn to let go of unnecessary expectations and not let those goals control our lives. When we are no longer bound by the desire to achieve something, we will naturally feel happier and more content. One of the biggest pressures in modern life is the pressure to change ourselves. From a young age, we are taught that we are never good enough, that we need to strive to become a better version of ourselves. We get caught up in the race for self-improvement, always believing that if we just try a little harder, we will become perfect. But what many do not realize is that this race never ends. Because there is no destination for perfection. When you manage to change one aspect of yourself, there are always more things to improve. This makes us feel like we are never good enough, and we must always try harder. Zhuangzi, in one of his famous stories, spoke about animals that envied each other's innate characteristics. The centipede envied the snake because the snake could move without legs, but the snake envied the wind because the wind could travel great distances without a body. However, each creature has its own strengths and weaknesses, and trying to change to become something else only makes them lose their true nature. Humans are the same. We often try to change ourselves to fit the standards set by society. White people try to tan their skin, while Asians try to have fairer skin. People with straight hair want curly hair, while those with curly hair want straight hair. Because we are not satisfied with what we have, we continuously try to change ourselves to become an ideal version that we can never fully achieve. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu said, "When people recognize something as beautiful, ugliness is created. When people recognize something as good, evil is created." This implies that by dividing everything into beautiful and ugly, good and bad, we make ourselves dissatisfied with who we are. Perfection is only a concept created by humans, and striving for it only brings us more suffering. So how can we escape this vicious cycle? The Taoists advise that instead of trying to change ourselves to fit a certain ideal, we should accept ourselves as part of nature. We are who we are, and we have our unique characteristics that make us distinct and different. Instead of trying to change ourselves, we should live true to our nature. Taoist philosophy, though originating thousands of years ago, remains highly applicable in modern life. Many people believe that today's fast-paced life, with its rapid technological advancements and constant pressures, is incompatible with ancient philosophies like Wu Wei and living in harmony with nature. However, in reality, the simplicity and naturalness of Taoist philosophy can effectively help us solve the problems of modern society. One important aspect that Taoism teaches is the concept of letting go. In a world where control is seen as power, the idea of letting go may seem difficult to accept. However, letting go does not mean abandoning everything. Rather, it means releasing our obsession with controlling every aspect of life. Instead of always striving to achieve something, we can learn to let go of what cannot be controlled and focus on living in harmony with the present. For example, in work, Many people are obsessed with achieving goals, becoming the best, or making more money. This leads to mental and physical exhaustion, causing unnecessary stress and anxiety. According to Taoist philosophy, instead of obsessing over success, we should focus on doing the best we can without being overly concerned with the outcome. Let the results unfold naturally without trying to control them. By doing this, we can release the pressure and find joy in the process of working. We can also apply the principle of letting go in relationships. In personal relationships, many people often want to control their partner, trying to change the other person to meet their desires. This not only creates conflict but also makes both parties feel exhausted. Taoism advises that we let go of the desire to control others and accept them as they are. When we accept and respect the naturalness of others, the relationship becomes more harmonious. Another way to apply Taoist philosophy to modern life is through the practice of meditation and mindfulness. In the busy life of today, we are often caught up in worries, plans, and goals. We live in the past or worry about the future, forgetting about the present. Meditation and mindfulness are tools that help us return to the present moment, calm the mind, and reduce stress. When we can live in the present moment, we can truly experience inner peace. The paradox of happiness, as discussed earlier, lies in the fact that the more we pursue it, the further away it seems. But a crucial question arises: if we don't pursue happiness, how do we find it? Taoists offer a simple yet profound answer to this question: happiness is not something that needs to be achieved. Happiness does not lie in accomplishments, fame, or recognition. Instead, happiness is the natural result of letting go of unnecessary desires and obsessions, living in harmony with our true nature and with the universe around us. Consider the lives of those who live in peaceful rural areas, far from the stresses of modern urban life. They don't need to race against time or worry about accumulating wealth or fame. They live simple lives, in harmony with nature, accepting what life brings. This simplicity and acceptance bring them the peace and happiness that many people in cities find hard to attain, even though they may be wealthier and more successful. This doesn't mean we must give up all ambitions or personal goals. What's important is that we learn to let go of unnecessary expectations and not let those goals control our lives. When we are no longer bound by the desire to achieve something, we will naturally feel happier and more content. One question many people often ask when exploring Taoism is: if we don't try to change the world or ourselves, should we give up on all actions? The answer is no. Wu Wei does not mean passivity or inaction, but rather acting naturally, without force. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu said, "Act without doing, work without effort." This is one of Lao Tzu's most confusing statements, but when understood correctly, it carries a deeply profound message. It implies that we should act, but without force, without trying to control. When we let things unfold naturally, we not only reduce fatigue but also achieve better results. For instance, in work, instead of trying to control every detail and outcome, we can act naturally, doing what needs to be done without worrying too much about the final result. This not only reduces pressure but also helps us focus more on the process, leading to better outcomes. In relationships, Wu Wei can be applied by respecting the freedom and naturalness of others, not trying to control or change them. When we act with respect and acceptance, relationships become more harmonious. One of the major themes in Taoism is how people face death. In many cultures, death is viewed as something frightening, and people try to resist it by all means. However, in Taoist philosophy, death is seen as a natural part of the life cycle, nothing to fear or worry about. Zhuangzi, one of the most famous Taoist sages, shared a story about his own attitude towards death. When his wife passed away, instead of mourning and grieving, he played music and sang to celebrate her passing. When asked why he did this, Zhuangzi replied that human life is like the changing of the four seasons. Death is merely a transformation from one state to another, like winter coming after autumn. There is nothing to be sad or afraid of because death is a natural part of life. Thus, Taoists view facing death naturally, without fear, as part of harmonizing with the universe. They believe that when people accept death as an inevitable part of life, they will live a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Through exploring Taoist philosophy, we can see that much of the pressure and stress in modern life stems from people's constant efforts to control everything, from themselves to the world around them. This effort, instead of bringing positive results, often leads to failure, stress, and dissatisfaction. Taoist philosophy teaches us the power of letting go and living in harmony with the natural flow of life. When we stop trying to control everything and accept life as it is, we will find true peace and happiness. From accepting ourselves, not striving for excessive change, to living naturally and harmoniously with the world, Taoist philosophy offers us a fresh approach to facing the challenges of modern life. These principles not only help us alleviate stress and anxiety but also provide us with a deeper understanding of the meaning of life and how to live fully. In the end, happiness does not come from effort or pursuit, but from acceptance, letting go, and harmonizing with nature. That is the greatest lesson that Taoism offers us.